Hey everybody, I thought I would do a series on preparing for and going to the Everest region for trekking, especially to Everest Base Camp, which is where most people are going to go, and maybe some light climbing like me and my father-in-law do, Popaji. So about 3 years ago we did the Three Passes trek, which is sort of a long version of Everest Base Camp trek. And then 2 years ago we made an attempt on Island Peak. And then this fall we intend to make an attempt at Mera Peak. We bought flights and everything is booked, but of course the uncertainty in the world today, we don't know what will happen. When we made the first trek, there wasn't a lot of great information, even on YouTube, about the trek and how to prepare. So I thought that I would try to do these videos and do it some justice, but this is my first attempt at anything like this, so be kind. So once you've decided that you do want to go to Everest Base Camp, in our case, Papa G was adamant about going. And so I decided to look into it. You're going to probably, if you're like me, want to look at every review site that you can find about it. In our case, the best resource was TripAdvisor, and I must have looked at reviews for a month, probably half an hour a day maybe, before I decided to start looking at websites that where I could book trips and whether or not they had pricing listed, which was pretty important to me, and just kind of how the websites looked was pretty important. I myself like to look at 2 and 3-star reviews a lot, sometimes 4. A lot of the 5s and 1s are just sort of out there. In this case though, I didn't feel like there was a lot of like really weird 5s, or the 1s, of course, pretty typical. On the mountain, bad things happen. There's probably going to be some sort of challenge no matter what you do on the mountain at some point. Things are going to get difficult for you physically and or mentally, and a lot of people don't do well in those circumstances and maybe didn't feel that they were supported by their guides or the guide service well enough. But these things do happen for sure. There's probably going to be something that makes you very uncomfortable at some point, either physically or psychologically, if you do go to Everest Base Camp. But for most of us, it's worth it. It's totally great. And like myself, maybe you'll end up going back. So let's take a look maybe at some websites, or at least the site we use, which is Mountain Mark Treks for booking. And I'll just kind of run through what's available in the region, like the kind of stuff we do with Popaji. But I'm not affiliated with them at all.
Okay, here's the Mountain Mark Treks and Expedition website. Quick look here at the treks in Everest region. You got a luxury trek, which is going to have you staying in nicer lodges and a 5-star hotel in Kathmandu. Gokyo Lakes, a very pretty valley right beside the Everest, the valley that Everest is in, Khumbu, and absolutely beautiful, very warm and comfortable at the top. Lodges are very nice up there, and it's just the most beautiful area up there, I think. This one, the panorama is just, you get to look at it. The Three Passes trek, going to take you over to Kongmala Pass into the Khumbu, and then up to Everest Base Camp, and then Chola Pass and Rinjola Pass on the way out. Pretty strenuous. This is the one we signed up for 3 years ago, and Papa G and I did not complete it. I actually got sick a day before base camp, and we turned around. But we end up doing the rest of it, which includes Gokyo Lake region. It actually has most of everything that you might do up there. It's a great trip. So here's a short Gokyo Lake. Not as bad as a short Everest trek because you're just not going as high. Here's another view. Oh my goodness, here's a helicopter landing. So let's take a look here. Classic base camp, 15 days, comfort 16. This is just how much time you're spending acclimatizing, really. Short, 11 days is probably as short as you'd ever want to do. I'm sure somebody offers shorter ones here. You could be pretty sick, though, actually, doing that one, and going to be pretty hard on you. Short, here's a classic short, and look at, they've got comfort 13, the rapid 10. Yeah, I mean, that's really pushing it, and anybody can get altitude sickness. And I think the guides will take good care of you. You probably won't get hurt, but your chances of success are going to be much higher if you take a longer time to get up there. Annapurna, I think that I just like to mention the Poon Hill Trek is supposed to have beautiful views, is pretty comfortable and easy. In my research about doing Annapurna, I discovered that if you do the longer treks, at least it seemed like you're on the road for some time. It just wasn't as nice. Now, the peak climbing, which is what we've been doing more recently, here's Island Peak is 21 days. What we ended up actually doing was we made a custom itinerary because I wanted to go back to Gokyo Lakes. It's wonderful. So we did sort of this Gokyo Lake Chola Pass, but instead of going to Everest Base Camp, we trekked over to Island Peak and Dingboche and Chakung, and then up to Island Peak. So that was a great trip, and so I would recommend this one too, actually, if you're gonna head up there. And then so this year we'll do just their standard Mera Peak climbing, which will take us out to out of Lukla and the opposite direction. You'll see here kind of, the itineraries are all here, very helpful. Detail sometimes tells you a lot more about what you're going to be doing in any particular day. When you're up in the mountains, pretty much everything is included with Mountain Mart, which is fantastic, including your water. They're going to give you, water purification tablets that you're going to use, but everything is really taken care of for you there. It's wonderful. When you're in Kathmandu, you're going to have to take care of yourself a bit, which is not really a problem. Tipping, you're probably going to spend several $100s tipping if you do it appropriately. I think a couple $100 for your guide and for your porter are not unreasonable. These people are really not paid anything when you look at how much it costs to do these things on your own. And I do my calculations. The room for paying the guides and porters is close to zero. So if you don't tip them, they don't get paid. So remember that when you're tipping these people, you are actually their employer, not the guide service. So treat them appropriately. Okay, so here we are. This is the trip we're going to take this year, but you kind of get the gist of what's included here, and in fact, I think they have some. Here's the altitude map, right? Nice little detail there. And then you get a t-shirt, which is always cool. So anyway, I'll spend more time on equipment and things like that, and accommodation, meals on another video. But this is just to show you kind of what is out there. And Mountain Mart, it's got a really great site. Looks like they've got their TripAdvisor certificate up there. And you can always message Dolok here. I think that picture's getting a few years old, man. So, okay.
So you might be asking yourself, now what? You know about these trips. Maybe you already knew what itineraries were standardly available before, like Gokyo Lakes or the 3 passes, the various Everest Base Camp trips, duration differences. Of course, for us, it came down to how long could we go for. That was based a lot on my work and how much time they would let me have off. And then cost, right? And if you're doing peak climbing, you'll see a significant jump in cost. That is, mountain guides are very expensive, many hundreds of dollars a day. And then you're also going to pay for the permits to get up there, and there'll be some a little bit more bureaucratic things to deal with. You'll need to get those permits as well, so a little bit more time. Always consider that you're going to need at least 3 days in addition to whatever they say these tours are, because at least for us, we're on the west coast of the United States. I fly out of Portland. It's going to take over 24 hours to get to Kathmandu, and really under great conditions it takes exactly 24 hours. This year's flights are going to take just over 30, I think, for one of them, and the other is like 29. So you're looking at pretty good flight durations. So you're going to have to add at least a day and a half for flights. And then, like for us, we want a buffer day. So look at adding another, $50, $100 to whatever this tour cost is, because you're going to have to pay for extra days in Kathmandu no matter what. And then you're also going to look at the expense of being in Kathmandu. It's not too expensive. I calculated it somewhere on a spreadsheet. I'll include it in a later video, but it's probably an extra 40 or $50 a day for food and whatever else you want to do in town. So think about what you want to do when you're there. Most people really, they have a singular goal like Papaji. They just want to get to Everest Base Camp. So maybe you're really just deciding between which one of those you want to do. If you want to include 3 passes, it is more strenuous, and but you're going to see a lot more up there. And I thought the passes were incredible. Chola and Kangmala both are just amazing passes. And even if you go the other route just to Gokyo Lakes, you're going to go over Manjo Pass. It's considerably lower, but it's gorgeous too. I mean, Amadablam is the best looking mountain up there, and you're going to have this incredible view if it's clear on Manjo. So yeah, I mean, they're all beautiful. They're all amazing. I think if you have the time, maybe you do the 3 passes and the inclination too. I mean, those are strenuous climbs. They don't take much in the way of technical skills. Chola can be a little bit technical. We went over a glacier on it. We just took our time. It was fine. We didn't even need clip-on crampons for that. So, I mean, there's areas where you're definitely going to do some scrambling there, especially on the side we came from, which is the Gokyo Lakes side. You're going to be, crawling for a little bit, but just because it's so steep and it's right near the summit, it's not like the whole time. I mean, we're talking pretty minimal. So skills-wise, yeah, it's going to be tougher, and it's going to be physically harder on you to do the 3 passes. I think that, though, if you're just looking for Everest Base Camp, give yourself at least 11 days to get up there. I think the 10-day one is probably too short, and your chance of success is just going to go up with the more days you take, up to like probably about 14, I would think. So, all right, I hope that's helpful. I really struggled with which one of these tours to take, but it's hard. You're gonna have to decide for yourself at some point. I can only give you so much information. All right, thanks.